Hi, this is SJ Talks from Life. Um, I don't know if you guys have heard about the rapper Takeoff. He was in the group The Migos. I'm not too familiar. I know I've heard of the Migos, um, but I wasn't familiar with him. Like I have said before, I don't keep up with this newer generation of rappers. You know, rap music is not what's like what it used to be. So my son was very familiar with him. He's kind of upset that what happened. I'm sure you guys have heard about what happened to him. YouTube keeps age restricting my videos. I don't know if you could even use that word in your video without it being age restricted. I don't know, but everybody, I'm sure you've heard what happened. I posted a TikTok on it, but I removed it because it said something about copyright, so I removed it. Um, and I guess it's just as well out of respect for the family. Um, but yeah, um, they was in a bowling alley, and he they took him out over a stupid game. He was shot over a stupid game. A stupid game. I guess they was doing some type of playing some type of gambling game or something like that at a bowling alley, and I guess that's the reason why the shooting took place. But it's stupid. It's stupid. I don't know about you guys, but I'm so over hearing about these rappers getting killed, or I'm not sure if I can use that word, getting taken out over nothing. I'm so over it. I'm so tired of hearing about these rappers getting taken out over just nothing, or material things, or jealousy. I'm tired of it. And that's why I've expressed to um, my son, I said it, if you watch me on a regular basis, I've stated many times on here that my youngest son wants to be a rapper. And I did a little interview with him too, and that's on here. Um, that's one of my main concerns about him going into that industry. I really don't want him in that industry, but that's one of my number one concerns. Um, um, he's thinking about some Plan Bs and stuff like that. So I'm glad about that because I told him he need to get. But he's thinking about going into some different directions other than that. So I'm glad about that. I'm not going to really go into details what it is, and not sure if he wants me to share that anyway. But he's thinking about going into some other areas. You know, some Plan Bs. He's thinking about Plan B and everything. So I'm very glad about that because that's I really don't want him in that industry. To be honest, I do not want him in that industry because um, I mean there's a possibility these young black males, they're at risk without even being a rapper. They're at risk, but then that adds an extra element of risk when they get into that industry. It adds that extra element of risk of something terrible happening, and I'm just over this. Over all this gun violence. I'm tired of it. Um, yeah, my son, he's pretty upset. You know, he said that was one of his favorite groups. It's just ridiculous. Now another mother has to mourn her son. Another mother has to bury her son. Another black mother has to bury her son. And I'm so over this. I'm just so over all this gun violence in the black community. When is this going to stop? When is this going to stop? And happens in every black community, including mine, because there's a black community in my city too. Um, this happens in every black community, from large, medium to small, all across the country. It don't matter what size of the city is. Every black community across all over the country, these things happen. And like I said, they're at risk even if they're not a rapper. But it's even more of a risk when they become a rapper. So I'm over it. I'm really over this gun violence in our community. I'm really tired of it. I'm really sick of it. I'm sick of having to hear about another black mother having to bury her son. I'm sick of it and I'm tired of it. I'm over it. No mother of any race, but black mothers should not have to bury their sons over getting taken out over something stupid, over something dumb, jealousy or whatever, a stupid game or a piece of jewelry or what. It's just stupid. It's stupid. It's like nobody has the proper respect for life anymore. Nobody has the proper respect for life anymore. It's just ridiculous. And I don't know if it's because these doggone video games, that these kids are growing up playing these video games and they get desensitized. These video games make them desensitizes them to, uh, I don't know. I don't know if it's the music. It's definitely the music. It's the music, but I wonder if it's also the video games, because the video games have become very violent. They're very graphic. Um, these video games are very graphic, and they're very violent. So I'm wondering if because these video games have desensitized these young people, and the music has desensitized people, um, but no proper respect for human life whatsoever. Just no proper respect whatsoever. No regard for human life whatsoever. Just none. And these young men don't care nothing about going to prison. Why is it that these young black males do not have a problem with going to prison? Is what is so fun about going to prison? What is so exciting about the thought of going to prison? It just seemed like they don't have no problem with going to prison. Because I mean, all this gun violence out here kind of have to make you wonder. These young men must want to go to prison. They must want to be on lockdown. They must want to do free labor for the next 50 years. Because it's just another form of slavery. Prison ain't nothing but another form of slavery. It's free labor. They have to get in there and they work basically for free, for pennies on the dollar. You want to go to prison and do free labor and uh take the chance of getting beat up, murdered. And everybody knows what else I'm talking about. I don't want to mention it. You know what else happens in prisons, in men's prisons. I'm not going to mention it, but you guys know what else happens. Is that what they want? Is that what these young men want? It's just every time I hear about a senseless shooting, gun violence, I said, I think about that. I said, well, they must want to go to prison because they always get caught. They always get caught. Every time they get caught, they never get away with it. They get caught every time. And that was my first initial thought is they must want to go to prison. What is so exciting about prison? I don't understand it. What is so exciting about prison? They used to have this documentary back in the day. I don't know if they still do that program. It's called Scared Straight. They used to do it back in the day. These documentaries called Scared Straight, where they would take um, the young people that was at risk in the community to visit prisons, and they would have the inmates talk to them and tell them, explain to them how prison life is, and give them a strong dose of reality as to the goal was to prevent them from for them to change their life and to stop doing what they're doing so they don't end up in prison. That was the whole purpose of this Scared Straight program. Do they even still have that? If they don't, they need to go ahead and start doing that again, because it's just ridiculous. I'm just so sick and tired of hearing every time I look up, every time I turn around, I'm hearing about another rapper get taken out over senseless gun violence. It's just ridiculous. It's just, and I'm over it. I'm over it. I'm over it. This we gotta make we gotta stop this in the black community. How can we expect for other people to have the proper respect for our life when we don't have respect for our own lives? How can we convince other people that Black lives matter when Black lives got to matter to us? But we steady trying to convince other groups of people. We're trying to convince the dominant group of people, particularly. We're trying to convince them, the dominant group of American society. We're trying to convince them that our lives matter. How are we going to convince them when Black lives don't even matter to Black people, and they're not stupid. They can see that. They know what goes on in the Black community. I read the blogs, and I read some of the things that they say. And unfortunately, I can't disagree with them because they're telling the truth. Black lives have to matter to Black people. We have to start having the proper respect for our lives before we can convince someone else that our lives matter. That's why I can't 100% get behind that movement, because they did all that marching after what happened with George Floyd. They did all that marching, and then right after, gun violence continued in the Black community. Even in my community, two young people got killed right after because they did those marches all around the country. They did those marches all across the country, and they did them here in my city too. But it was very peaceful here. And right after they done it, two young people got taken out. Right after, I mean, it was literally right after the march. That happened all in Black communities all across the country. So I'm like, okay, well, what was they out there marching for? And then nobody goes out and marches for gun violence in the Black community, but they're quick to do it when a police officer kills a Black man or a Black woman. Well, it's mainly when they kill a Black man. Nobody really marches for Black women. Mainly when they kill a Black man, they're quick to go out and march. But then when gun violence happens in the Black community, Black people are silent. No marches, no rallies, no nothing. I don't understand that for the life of me. Why don't black people have the same energy that you have for when a police officer kills a black man? Go out and march and rally. Why don't you have that same energy? Why don't black people have the same energy for when gun violence happens in the black community? Where's the same energy? And the percentage of white police officers killing black men is a lot lower than the percentages of black men killing black men in the black community, or in black women in the black community, in children in the black community. The percentage of them black people getting killed by police officers is much lower than the gun violence that takes place in the black community. But they're quick to go out and rally when a police officer takes a black person out, but don't have the same energy when the gun violence happens in the black community. Need to have the same energy. Need to have that same energy, because if you don't have the same energy, the Black Lives Matter movement they're just gonna keep deflecting and not really taking it seriously, because they're looking at it like, well, they don't even have the proper respect for their own people's lives, so how can they expect us to? They're never gonna get it. They're never gonna get it, because look at all the gun violence that's going on in the black community. They're never going to have the proper respect for the Black Lives Matter. They're never going to have the proper respect, because they see that we don't have the proper respect for our own people's lives. And until we get it, they never will. We need to start educating our young people. We got to start educating our young people, bottom line. But this gun violence just needs to stop. It needs to stop in the black community. Let me know what your thoughts are. Um, my prayers and condolences go out to this young man's family. I don't know about you guys, but I am over it. I'm so tired of hearing about all these rappers getting taken out and all the senseless gun violence that's happening in the black community. Let's pray for a change. Black people need to change. We need to change. Our people need to change. All right, hit me up. Like, subscribe, and share. Until the next video, be blessed.